There's something you aren't being told about the current Cold War between the US and Russia that's icier than a witch's tit after seeing the naked body of that guy who ate Russell Crowe. And of course, the new Cold War also involves a proxy war in Ukraine, where Western media is telling us to root for a Jew and for the Nazis? As an anti-imperialist Jew myself, can't I be opposed to both the Russian invasion and opposed to Nazis? Is that not allowed? Really? Come on! This is worse than when the Price is Right Showcase Showdown forced me to choose between rooting for a Marine and rooting for another Marine. You're trained killers. Why do you need a jet ski so bad? Can't you just kill someone and take their jet ski? But there's a larger reason the U.S. needs to crush Russia right now, and our government is hoping the poor Ukrainians will be the cannon fodder they need to do it. To understand what that thing is you aren't being told, you have to first understand how the U.S. maintains our global hegemony. Hegemony is a Greek word that means, is it a kind of yogurt or a type of herpes or both? Anyway, the U.S. empire maintains our control via two things: truly ridiculous military power, 800 military bases around the world, a $1 trillion a year budget, dudes with no necks, and apparently jet skis, and enough nukes to destroy the world 5 times over, in case destroying the world 4 times over still leaves a couple of lice alive. Who do those lice think they are? Fire everything we got! And the second way is to control much of the world's banking system and reserve currency, the petrodollar. 80% of global oil transactions are done in dollars. When the U.S. can't control another country economically, our government resorts to the use of guns and missiles to do it. Want some examples? Remember that time the U.S. invaded Iraq and killed about 1 million people on primetime TV hosted by Wolf Blitzer? Neither do I. I was sniffing a lot of glue back then. Not for fun. I was trying to sell homemade macaroni necklaces to children to pass off as their own. Anyway, over 2 years before the invasion of Iraq, The Guardian reported in October 2000, Iraq insisted on dumping the US dollar, the currency of the enemy, for the more multilateral euro. Drop the dollar and the US kills 1 million of your people and hangs your ruler from the highest rafter. Even if America used to be BFFs with him. That's what we call a bit of a rage problem. How about Libya? Well, before the US and NATO bombed that country back to the Stone Age and turned their ruler Gaddafi into a shish kebab, as economist Ellen Brown noted, Gaddafi initiated a movement to refuse the dollar and the euro and called on Arab and African nations to use a new currency instead, the gold dinar. In fact, in the middle of the war, while the country was still in shambles, the Libyan rebels took time out from their rebellion in March to create their own Western-backed central bank. This before they even had a government. Do you have any idea how hard it is to fill out the paperwork for a new central bank when there are Molotov cocktails flying through the window and you're the one throwing them? Talk about multitasking. What kind of industrial paper clips do they use for that? Well, hold on a second, Lee. If that is your real name, there are other countries the U.S. helped obliterate recently that didn't drop the dollar, like Syria. Well, listen, Eduardo, if that is your real name, here's the Chicago Tribune from 2006. Syria dollar dropped as primary hard currency. Oh, so they were outside our gooey central banking tentacles and they'd stopped using the dollar and then bad shit happened to them. Crazy coincidence. It's like that time my girlfriend got really into meeting the mailman outside to collect our mail and then had our baby that looked just like him. So strange. You know, we're still good friends with that mailman. In fact, he picks up our son and hangs out with him every Wednesday and Friday, like that judge ordered. Anyway, is 3 examples not enough to prove the U.S. destroys anyone who threatens our global banking cartel? No? Let's keep going then. In 2020, do you remember when Donald Trump greeted Iran's top general with a drone bomb through his head? Why would he do that to Iran? Here's an article from 1.5 years earlier. Iran switches from dollar to euro. That's not the only reason the sociopaths who run America hate Iran, but it doesn't help. They also hate it because Persian calligraphy art makes our death metal band names look crude and lacking in grace. Ellen Brown pointed out something else all the countries we invade or bomb have in common. None of them is listed among the 56 members of the Bank for International Settlements. That puts them outside the long regulatory arm of the central banker's central bank in Switzerland. And now, like a good moil, I'll get to the point. What does banking have to do with right now? Well, here's from January, before Russia's invasion. Russia and China to develop SWIFT, avoiding international financial systems. Right now, the Eurasia Economic Union of post-Soviet states and China are starting to design a new monetary and financial system bypassing the US dollar. So what is SWIFT, other than the speed at which I orgasmed when I hooked up with that French model? She was a kneecap model, definitely not a face model, but I'm into that. Behind most international money and security transfers is the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, SWIFT. SWIFT is a messaging network banks and other financial institutions use to send and receive information. The US, UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and the European Commission announced in a joint statement recently that they would remove selected Russian banks from the SWIFT messaging system. But the US is trying to play a game of economic whack-a-mole in a world that is mostly moles at this point. And our government just keeps whacking and whacking and whacking. They're just whacking off way too much. Side note, did you know that you don't actually go blind from that? It just feels like you have from staring so hard at the blurred out parts of your dad's VHS copy of Showgirls. Too personal? Look, America can't just attack every country that does business outside the dollar. Or, fund Nazis and expand NATO until Russia stupidly attacks and finds itself bogged down, and you get it. But Russia is not Iraq, and this time they had their own tricks up their furry hats. Last week, Moscow demanded payment in rubles from EU countries buying loads of oil from them. They did this in response to the sanctions from the US. On top of that, U.S. ally Saudi Arabia is considering accepting the yen instead of dollars for Chinese oil sales. Plus, the country of India, which is just a teeny tiny country, has something to say about all this. What do they know? They only have 1.38 billion people, meaning they have more people currently picking their nose with the hand of an action figurine than the U.S. has in total. Anyway, India said they were going to buy Russian oil at discount amid the Ukraine war. A senior finance ministry official said India and Russia were exploring the possibility of a rupee-ruble currency arrangement. So basically, they're dropping the dollar for oil trade. Fuck! The U.S. can't whack off this much! But that won't stop us from trying, like a Catholic priest at it. Nope, too easy. But I'll leave you with one more fact. The countries in blue on this map are those that share more trade with the U.S. than China. The orange ones share more trade with China. U.S. is doing pretty good, right? Only one problem. That was in the year 2000. Here now is 2020. World trade has shifted to China. The U.S. is a dwindling empire. And in order to maintain their grip on the world, our ruling elite are willing to set fire to the economies of just about anyone, even if it means food shortages causing us to have to snack on roasted insect abdomens. I've already started. Yes, Russia should not have invaded Ukraine, and they shouldn't be killing anyone right now. But you also need to know that this is a proxy war designed to try to maintain American hegemony, which is a herpes-based yogurt, pretty sure. If you want more videos like this, support my work at patreon.com/LeeCam.